Okay, he's one of my favorites. I've been dying to get him on the show. Dying. Wish that I could. NFL media wouldn't allow it to happen. Let's not get into that. That's in the past. Veteran reporter, insider, all around good guy. James Palmer, I gotta tell you, it's good to see you. And on our morning call, we have some, Good Morning Football, injections into our production staff, and everyone's so excited to have you on.
I was very excited. I'm like, you mentioned earlier, like, why didn't you get a text or anything of that? I was like, I was getting like formal invites to come on the show. It was so professional, and all these people are texting me. We'd love to have you. We'd love to have you. I was like, wow, I didn't even get Kate. She got all these people. This is incredible. I'm super stoked. This has been a minute. We've talked about this forever, Kay, about doing this.
I can't believe
and now here it is.
Yeah, since Philadelphia, when we were both, I believe there was like a puppy, and it was Brandon Graham and Lane Johnson, and we got to
big tree.
True. And then their season, I mean, maybe we were the bad omen for them.
Well, I don't know about that. A lot of reasons that didn't go right. We'll get to it.
Okay, sure. I'd love to. I mean, if you have that answer, I thought we'd have to wait 20 years for Apple to come out with some, 10-part series on what happened in the 23 season with the Eagles.
I'd watch.
Well, I'd watch you. Let me see. I have to see. I don't even see you yet. There's your hair. Your hair looks good, kid.
Right.
Looking good.
I changed barbers. This is a big deal. Eddie was not showing up on time. Just didn't even show up for an appointment. I've had him for a long time. And I went to a guy that's 2 stops down from him. I'm terrified now to walk to Lavelle and go to his barber shop because I got to go buy my old guy to get to him. This is a huge situation going on here. So I'm trying to schedule on days that I know Eddie's not working. I don't think he watches this show.
Running into your ex. What do you mean he doesn't watch the show? What is that supposed to mean?
Well, I just know what Eddie's interested in. Sports ain't it. So yeah.
Shout out to Eddie. We're going to clip this and put it out there. I know that you're interested in bar games. You're a very confident guy. And I like this about you, but you posted this recently. The Palmers dominate at bar games. You've got a dart set in your backyard. What is the strongest bar game you've got? Like if you were to win the gold in Paris?
All of them. I mean, it really, you don't spend almost 6 years at Ohio State and not be good at like bar games. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so this was constructed so we could play at night as well throughout the day. But yeah, if it involves video games, terrible, okay. But if it involves the hands, like darts, beer pong, flip cup, foosball, we better be on a tornado table or we're not playing. Like cornhole, I would say, is probably the next one after darts. But none of these are really like important in the grand scheme of life, because I've realized now, because we just had Memorial Day weekend, like the only thing that comes out of this now is middle-aged men get angry and then don't want to play you. And like the barbecue's not a whole lot of fun. So there's nothing positive coming out of being good at these dark games. And it's my entire family. Everybody's great at them.
I feel like Ted Lasso, a lot came good out of that dark game. Like he,
That's true. I just finished Ted Lasso last night for the second go round.
You watched it. Oh, I could never watch a series again.
What?
I've never rewatched
on the road covering the NFL for the last like 10 years for NFL Network. I would start The Sopranos over during training camp in my hotel room, and I'd go through The Sopranos again by the time the Super Bowl rolled around.
Wow, never seen it. Would never rewatch it. Do you watch Hacks at all? What's are you watching right now? I watch
Hacks. I haven't started the new season yet. I love her. She's absolutely incredible. But I have to finish Jinx first. That's my HBO show right now with Robert Durst, the second season, the documentary. You don't watch Jinx?
I've never even heard of it, but Jean Smart was on a plane with me once, and I'm obsessed with her.
What? She's amazing.
She's amazing, and she was kind of cranky and like wonderful, and like she was so tall, and like I've seen her twice. I saw her at the SAG Awards backstage. I mean, I have a people microphone. I could easily go up to her. I would not. It was like there's very rare air of people I will not go talk to, and I was too intimidated to go say hi to her. Obsessed with her.
I get it. There's rarity though that a role like fits a person so perfectly. Like she is incredible. I'm excited to start that. I got one episode less of Jinx. You got to watch Jinx, guy.
Richard is telling me in my ear to watch. What I was supposed to say is, hey, everybody, watch the 2024 U.S. Darts Masters Friday at 7 p.m. on FanDuel TV Extra. And I'll have you know, it's like a really big, very well bet on thing, the U.S. Dart Masters. We got to get you in that, James.
I'm excited. I got time to plan right now. So yeah, I
Well,
can
you don't
practice.
have time because you're busy and you're like so involved in these teams and what's going on. It's really amazing. So let's kick it off here. Let's go to Denver, where Sean
Go.
Payton, did he say his quarterback room were orphaned dogs?
Certainly did. Yeah,
Okay. But
certainly did.
he says it's a good room though, also. So you've got Stidham, who I know that he likes. Zach
Hmm.
Wilson, who he brought in, so he must like him or thinks he can get the best out of him, or Bo Nix, who he clearly likes because he drafted him. From what you are hearing, who has the edge?
Well, he says it's a good room. Let's first say that it's early, but this is probably the worst quarterback room in football. Now, that can change after this season, but that's just from track record of the guys in the room. But the front runner is Bo Nix, because I really do believe, and this is outside of the norm for Sean Payton to play rookies at really any position. But if you look at everything that's going on in Denver, the number one thing that they need to figure out this season is if Bo Nix was the right pick at 12. That's it. That is the point of the 2024 season in Denver. Was Bo Nix at 12 the right play? Because they were about the only team, as I called around, that was going to pick Bo Nix in that area. And I think it's interesting, too, considering another Peyton, in Peyton Manning case, spends a boatload of time still. The key fob still works at Dove Valley for Peyton Manning, and he's in that building all the time. He believes playing as a rookie is huge. Yes, he set the rookie interception record that he'd probably like to get broken by somebody this year. But he thinks that experience for Bo Nix would be big. He thinks this is a great fit for Nix. I watched him throw and operate on last Thursday at OTAs. What they're really focused on is operation, right? In and out of the huddle, tough for a rookie, getting the play into your teammates in the huddle, getting through everything, being decisive, being quick with football. He was doing all of that. I was watching Bo Nix do that with 61 career starts in college. I think he does have some experience for a rookie, and Sean Payton liked all of that. The other part of this that I do find interesting is Zach Wilson, because the arm talent being there on Thursday next to Stidham, next to Bo Nix, was just standing out just easily. I mean, he threw some dimes out there, and I'm just fascinated by his talent winding up with somebody like Sean Payton. I talked to John Beck this offseason, who works with, he works with every quarterback on the planet, but he also works a lot with Zach. And we were talking about Zach, and I was like, what's next for him? He's like, he needs to land in a spot where he's going to grow. He needs to land in a spot where he can continue to improve, because he's still a young quarterback, but still has 33 starts under his belt, okay, right? Like, so they think the experience, people around him, John Beck included, the experience he had in New York with the difficulties there are going to mold him to be a better quarterback. I'm kind of fascinated to see behind the scenes what Sean Payton can do with Zach Wilson.
It's great on paper. It's very rare for a quarterback who had developmental issues, not because of him, because of OCs, because of whatever, because of
A lot of
system.
things.
It's very rare that there's a turnaround. It's very rare to see that second act, that Baker Mayfield, that what we're maybe hoping to see out of Sam
Yeah.
Darnold, up with the Vikings. But I sort of think about who, when you look at Denver, you just think Sean Payton because it's him. He's the culture. He's the decision maker.
Yeah.
He's installing everything. You got to think like, I remember when he was with the Saints and he pulled in Jameis, and there was a collective
Yeah.
like eye roll of like Jameis, but he saw
Yeah.
something in him and said, I have a healthy enough ego, and I know how good I am that I can work with this. So like, I can't imagine at OTAs he's watching that, not thinking like, I got this. And if you think about
Yeah.
Jameis, I just saw at the Derby, we talked about this before the injury, like he was turning around. He was not turning the ball
It's the
over.
best we saw him play in terms of protecting the football and a variety of things. You're right.
Yeah, so you got to think he's going to get the best out of Zach Wilson, and that could be a scary thing. I think like if you're a coach, you're looking at all the examples and analytics of it not working out. But that's why I love him, because he doesn't give an F, and he's
Oh,
going
yeah.
to go against the grain and say, I can get the best out of him. And Bo Nix will hopefully only benefit from that, like Zach Wilson benefited osmosis wise from Aaron Rodgers, I'm sure. Let's talk about the Chiefs, who had Patrick Mahomes sit and develop, which was beautiful. And now they're they are where they are. They've been dealing with these off the field issues. The Butker thing, fine, but like the Rashee Rice thing, their car crash back in March, where do we stand with him as that position, just X's and O's wise, is so important to this squad?
Yeah, we can say it's important, but they didn't have any receivers last year and they won the Super Bowl. But they got better receivers now and the room's better. With Rashee Rice, where it stands right now is there's not a whole lot of movement in terms of the legal process at this moment, to my understanding. Now, he can go to OTAs. He was there. He can attend these workouts. He can participate. The Chiefs, to my understanding, are expecting MK to be suspended for a number of games. However many that number of games are, they don't know that right now. Obviously, none of us do. We'll probably all find out at about the same time when the legal process goes through and the NFL's investigation goes through. But they're expecting him to be gone for a number of games. And it's interesting because they also want him to take a big step this year. And they want him to have more on his plate, is what I've been told. And they know how good he can be in the underneath stuff. They know how good he can be yards after the catch. And that's why they went and got the two other guys that they did in Hollywood Brown and then drafting Xavier Worthy in the first round. It was the deep aspect of our passing game that they were known for in the front end of Patrick Mahomes' career, just being so brilliant with Tyreek Hill and those guys going downfield, hasn't been there. It just hasn't been there. They want these guys to go deep and they want to be able to add that part back into the offense. That's a big point of emphasis that I'm told in terms of this offseason. Well, both of those guys and how they can stretch the field, that just makes life easier for Rashee Rice, easier for Travis Kelce in the middle of the field to operate and work in space, because I think Rice is really good in finding those different spots to work in space in the middle of the field. But with Worthy, like, we know how talented he is. We know how fast he can run. What I want to see when we go to St. Joe, I'm not sure if your Winnebago is going to get to St. Joe. It's not really, like, it's kind of off the beaten path to get up there, Kay. But if you do, just keep an eye on how Xavier Worthy's handling everything mentally, because we know he can play. But what Andy Reid does is he puts so much on receivers. It's one of the toughest training camps in all of football, if not the toughest. He has such a strong mental makeup. His football intelligence is through the roof. He can run for days. These are all the things that Andy Reid was told by Texas head coach Steve Sarkisian, just to say, hey, this is why you should take him. He fits the profile of what you want in a wide receiver. He's not Tyreek Hill, two different players in Andy Reid and Brett Veach's mind. But what he can do on a football field mentally, that's going to be the big part on how impactful Xavier Worthy is in the beginning part of this season.
It's so interesting because a lot of people say, oh, he'll just be the plug and play for Deshaun Jackson or Tyreek Hill. You're saying they're not the same player, but the one thing that everyone tells me, whether it's Hall of Famer Chris Carter or whoever, it is all about how slept on Tyreek Hill's intelligence is. How slept on his instinct. And so it seems like that's a common thread that they both have, going to help them with such a big offense.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It really is. Actually, that was an underrated aspect of Tyreek. Maybe also his ability to track a ball in the air. I have to say this story because once I asked him, because, like, a lot of those balls were just thrown to space, right? And Tyreek was unbelievable at going and getting the football early in Mahomes' career. I was like, one time Tyreek was in the locker room and he's eating a thing of ice cream, soft served ice cream. And I'm like, dude, how do you track a ball so well? We're just sitting in his locker and he's like, kickball. I was like, what? He's like, I used to be the pitcher in kickball and I'd roll the ball and then backpedal to the middle of the field and then catch everything that was kicked in, like, elementary school, middle school. He's like, kickball is how I learned how to track a football so well.
I think he'd beat your ass at darts.
He's a lefty too. Cause he'd be pretty good, I think. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about Sky Moore. Well, I don't. Hamilton's texting me. He said, can Sky Moore be the underneath guy? Because, I mean, they did take him, in the second round a couple of years ago. Like, if no Rice, could Sky Moore be someone I should be looking at?
Hamilton's kind of on something because, they do need to fill that spot. That spot's going to need to be filled while Rashee Rice is out. And is it Sky Moore? Is it, like, honestly, like a reset year for Kadarius Toney? Like, I'm curious how they go and fill that spot. I mean, they had such high expectations for Toney a season ago, if you remember. They thought he was going to be the one. How do they find a way to fill that void underneath when these two other guys are legitimately outside guys in Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy? You're not really probably putting one of those guys inside. I want to see what Sky Moore can do because they have been, I don't want to say, like, disappointed in Sky Moore, but it hasn't gone exactly how they've wanted it to go so far. But hell, everybody, progresses differently. Maybe another year for him and an opportunity like this early in camp, they can see something from him. Yeah,
and Mahomes has been saying he wants the deep game back, which is horrifying for, like, anyone. But a fun thing for Surtain, if you're out in Denver, of course, is one of probably my favorite player on that team. You covered Denver in and out. And you got to see the Russell Wilson experience. So now he's with the Steelers. Just who's starting week 1? They got Kirk Cousins. Well, probably not him over Penix for sure. He's starting for the Falcons. They've got the Steelers on the docket. Is it Fields or is it Wilson?
Now, I put this out recently. I believe, and my understanding is that Justin Fields has a real shot at winning the starting job. Is that for week 1? That's probably a little bit of an uphill battle to win it by week 1, just by the way everything is kind of, I don't want to say slated against him, but that's kind of where it is right now. If you look at Russ's, resume and a Super Bowl and where he's at, and both have struggled recently, but there's a larger sample size of success for Russ than there is for Justin right now. Do I think he still has an opportunity to win the job at some point? I really, really do. I think that is possible. Is that by week 1? Doesn't have to be. We saw a quarterback change there last year, right, Kay? And Mason Rudolph played well and kept it. I could see that happening. My bet would be that we see both quarterbacks play this year in Pittsburgh. I really do think we do. And I'm curious because Arthur Smith, and what we've been told, has a larger voice in that building than previous offensive coordinators. Who does Arthur like more? And who does Arthur think gives his offense the best chance to succeed? How much does Mike Tomlin listen to that? And how much is Mike Tomlin in agreement with that they make a change? I still think there's a chance, a very good chance, for Justin Fields to win the job. Is that by week 1? We'll see, but he could still win the starting job at some point during the season too if things are not going well.
I wonder what sort of promises were made to Russell Wilson and his team of starting, getting the best chance to start, what it would look like to, put the shepherd's hook in. It'll be interesting. And there's a lot of talk about them getting a receiver, right? I've seen the DK Metcalf vibes. I've seen, just them bringing in another threat. Do you think that they do that?
It'd be against what we've seen in history in Pittsburgh. I mean, they just don't do it. I mean, doesn't mean they won't, but they just haven't over the years. I mean, they don't really pick receivers in the first round, and they don't really trade for receivers. I mean, my buddy Albert Breer, as we talk about all, former NFL Network people, and he does great work at SI. I think he put it out like a few weeks ago. There hasn't been a receiver to lead them in receiving that wasn't homegrown since World War II. That's how far back it went. So obviously whoever comes in is probably not going to be their 1, but they have a huge competition at 2. It's just not really what they do in terms of trading for receivers. I wouldn't, think they do it. I'd be really surprised if they did.
I wonder if it's also based on who was available at the time.
True.
Right? So then I'm thinking if there's a world where, John Lynch is saying, call me about Ayuk, that's gotta be hard to not have that conversation. Yeah,
Ayuk's a 1. I mean, he's a great receiver.
Yeah. I would be excited about the Steelers if they got them, but I don't know. Yeah. The whole vibe with the Steelers is, I'm sitting here saying, you guys are idiots. Mike Tomlin's such a goat. He's keeping, and everyone's just, it's mid. It's, 500 isn't, everyone just wants a big move to happen, maybe more than any other team. So I almost would like it for the fan base even.
Yeah, true. But I also look at the way the offense is going to be built. I would look for Freiermuth to be a big part of what they're doing moving forward. It's a lot of the play action, roll out. That's what Arthur does, hit the tight end type of stuff. So I could see them almost thinking this isn't a massive priority. And if you're going to spend and when we say spend in the NFL, it's either capital, which is money, or assets, which are picks, right? And so if you're trading, you're giving something up for them. I'm just curious where that ranks in terms of needs on Arthur Smith's list on the offensive side of the ball, or Mike's list as a whole for them right now.
Is Freiermuth the strangest name in the NFL right now? It's such a funny name. Freiermuth.
It is. I dig it though.
I haven't thought about Freiermuth in 2 years. So thank you for bringing him back to the conversation.
There you go. He's got some chemistry with Russ, I'm told, early on in OTA.
So he's cool. So are you close to the Russ camp? Is that what I'm getting out of you? You're very what's going on here?
I don't. I think that's just Steelers. No, that's not Russ camp. No, that's not Russ camp talk. No.
Are you and Sierra doing karaoke together? Is that what I'm reading?
Oh my God. I just started taking voice lessons, Kay. And so I really do hope Sierra and I can I don't know how that scenario would ever come into play with her and I, but if there is an opportunity and I'm pretty deep in these lessons, I'd go out there.
Drop something right now. Give us a little.
I said, if I'm deep in the lesson, I've had 1 lesson. So that's
And
how
what did you
confident I
learn?
am after I've had one lesson. I learned posture, breathing, mouth, PBM is very important. But all my go-to is the Humpty dance on karaoke, so that doesn't really need a whole lot of
I don't
singing
understand why
anyways.
you're taking voice lessons. Hamilton just texted me and goes, Fryer Muth tangent. Oh no, he said it about me. Hamilton. Hamilton goes, Fryer Muth tangent. You wonder why people accuse you of being high on the air. People think that I'm high all the time because
Oh,
I'm like,
really? It's early for
yeah.
you out there.
Well,
Okay.
back on Good Morning Football, it was like 3 a.m. You remember that, and it would just
Yeah.
be like, my eyes are red. It was a total mess. I can't believe you're taking voice lessons. Can I ask you why?
Why not? Right? Like because I do think, and we're all over the place here, but I use Jimmy Fallon as my North Star in this. Like he really worked hard at his voice. And now he's a great mimic and a great impressionist. But to me, it's like anybody can probably, unless you're tone deaf, this is what my voice coach has told me. Unless you're like completely tone deaf, anybody can be pretty good with training and with lessons. So like who doesn't want to like
You're
sound
Mariah Carey. I think
amazing?
Rodney McLeod's standing me up. We're gonna figure it out. Will you stick around with me, James?
Sure.
All right, we're going to take a short break here. We'll be live on YouTube,
Rodney.
though. Okay, we're back on Up and Adams. I do believe Rodney McLeod has ghosted me. So, James, if you want to pull some overtime here, just, since you have the voice now and
And Roddy's a good guy too. If something came up.
I hope he's okay. Hopefully we can get him on. I was really, really excited to talk to him, but
He's
excited that
great to
you're here
talk to.
too. So thanks for hanging out. So, Rodney, hope he's well and everything's cool, and we can rebook him or get him on maybe in the last 10 minutes. We'll see. We didn't get to Houston, so I'm excited to talk to you about this because big swings this offseason. I was just talking about Stephon Diggs and Mixon and CJ Stroud, obviously coming off the season that he did. Answer my unanswered question: is it enough for these Texans to be real challengers to the Chiefs?
I think so. I mean, right now, nobody's in the Chiefs' realm just because nobody's doing what they're doing. So we can't put anybody in that until we start playing games. But they're built to do it, Kay. They really are. And it's not because of like Nico Collins getting this deal and the growth Nico's had and the time he spent with Dre to become more efficient as a big body receiver or Tank Dell and you add Stephon. It's not the skill guys to me. I think they're built to do it because of where they're at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Like CJ walked into a really good situation with a good offensive line, with a lot of emphasis on what they do with that offensive line and how their offense is developed. And then the defensive line, like Danico Autry, I think is a really, really sneaky pick by any team in football this year. He had a really good year last year. And then Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr., I mean, it's May, 29th? But like at the end of this season, Kay, we could talk about like this being the best edge rushing duo in football. Like they have that type of a talent, and then they got better at linebacker. I think Petrie is so underrated. Stingley had a great year last year. You have Jimmy Ward back there that still knows everything D'Amico wants to do defensively so well. I think down the middle of the field and through the lines of scrimmage, they're just really, really good. And the other part that stands out to me, and that people are always curious, like, will there be a sophomore slump, right? Always with quarterbacks. Will that happen? I don't think it's going to happen with CJ. Now, you mentioned earlier the strength of schedule changes dramatically for them. I think that's a big part. But I've had conversations with Bobby Slowick, who stayed, which is a big part for CJ at offensive coordinator. He just always makes the right decisions, Bobby said. Like, he checks the ball down. He comes back to the sideline. Hey, I wanted you to push it there. It wasn't there. It wasn't there, coach. I took the check down. Like, that's such a veteran way to think. And that's the way CJ goes through progressions, goes through them with his feet before his eyes, which is like a rare thing for a young quarterback. I just think he's built not to really, take a step backwards in how he's working when you add the weapons that I'm not emphasizing, but also where they're built on the inside.
So they could contend with the Chiefs, is what you're saying.
I think they could. I definitely think they could. It could be better. They go into Arrowhead late, right?
Yeah.
End of the year.
I don't know. Do they? I haven't looked.
I think they do.